Hello everyone, welcome. This is your elective hardware and PC maintenance. So now the RAM is random access memory. It stores programs and data currently being used in the CPU. So this RAM is measured in units called megabytes, it is MB or gigabytes GB. So each piece of RAM is called a stick. See, each piece of RAM is called a stick, and one common type of stick found in today's PC is a dual inline memory module, DIMM. DIMM is a RAM stick. Okay, so it is a type, it is one type of RAM stick, DIMM. So each piece of RAM is called a stick, and a common type of stick is a DIMM, that is dual inline memory module. So now types of RAM. In that, first one is we have two types, SD-RAM and RD-RAM. Okay, RD-RAM. SD-RAM, synchronous dynamic random access memory. Synchronous dynamic random access memory, SD-RAM. So the most modern systems use the form of modern systems use some form of synchronous RAM, that is SD-RAM. Is still called DRAM, is a still DRAM, but it is synchronous, tied to the system clock, just like CPU. So it is synchronous to the system clock. So SD-RAM, that is synchronous dynamic random access memory. Okay, it is synchronous to system clock. So SD-RAM made its debut. So it started in 1996 on a stick called dual inline memory module, that is DIMM. So synchronous dynamic RAM worked on. So the stick, this stick is called dual inline memory module, that is DIMM. The early SD-RAM DIMMs came in wide variety of pin sizes. The most common pin sizes found on desktop were the 168 pin variety. Laptop DIMMs came in 68 pin or 144 pin, 172 pin micro DIMM packages, and the 72 pin, 144 pin or 200 pin small outline DIMM, that is SODIMM. SODIMM, that is small outline DIMMs. So with the exception of the 32-bit 72 pin SODIMM, all these DIMM varieties delivered 64-bit wide to match the 64-bit data bus of every CPU since the original Pentium. Pentium is a processor. Okay, since the original Pentium processor, all the DIMMs they delivered 64-bit wide data. One exception is 32-bit 72 pin SOMM DIMM, but except that all other DIMMs delivered 64-bit wide data, okay, to match the 64-bit data bus. So this is DIMM. The figure shows the DIMM. First one is 168 pin and 144 pin SODIMM. So to take advantage of SD-RAM, you needed a PC designed to use SD-RAM. So PCs are designed to use either SD-RAM or RD-RAM, but to take the advantages of SD-RAM, you needed a PC designed for SD-RAM. And if you have a system with the slots of 168 pin DIMMs, your system used SD-RAM. A DIMM in any of the DIMM slots could fill the 64-bit bus. So each slot was called a bank. Okay, so each slot where you can insert DIMM, each slot is called a bank. You can install 1, 2 or more sticks and the system would work. So okay, so this is about SDRAM, synchronous dynamic RAM. So other type is RDRAM. So here it is a Intel's product. RDRAM is also a Intel's product, and new type of RAM developed by Rambus called Rambus RAM or simply RDRAM. So this RDRAM is developed by Rambus, called Rambus RAM or simply RDRAM. So this RDRAM could handle speeds up to 800 megahertz. Okay. So the speed of RDRAM is 800 megahertz. So the RDRAM was greatly anticipated by the industry for years, and the major PC makers sold systems that used RDRAM for a while. So here RDRAM shared almost all of the characteristic of SDRAM. So RDRAM contains all the characteristics of SDRAM, and the stick of RDRAM was called RIMM. But the stick of SDRAM is called DIMM, whereas the stick of RDRAM is called RIMM. So now the troubleshooting RAM. The system lockups and page fault in Windows can indicate a problem with the RAM. A system lockup is when the computer stops functioning. So when the computer stops functioning, it is called a system lockup. It means you have a problem with your RAM. And a page fault is a milder error that can be caused by memory issues, but not necessarily system RAM problems. The page fault look like RAM issues because Windows generates error messages filled with long strings of hexadecimal digit. Okay, so the error message will be like this. The string, it will display one error message like this: KRNL 386 caused a page fault and a memory address. Okay, the error message will be like this. So this just because the error message contains a memory address, however, does not mean that you have a problem with your RAM. Okay, so here in this message it gives the memory address, and you can write down the address. If it repeats and in later error messages you probably have a bad RAM stick. Okay, so if the same error message comes again and again, then it is the problem of your RAM. If Windows displays different memory locations, you need to look elsewhere for the culprit. That means it's not a problem of your RAM. So if it displays the same message, then you have a problem with your RAM stick. Otherwise, if it displays some different memory locations, then it is not a problem of your RAM. So every once in a while something potentially catastrophic happens within the PC. That means if something disastrous happens within your PC, some little electron hits the big red panic button. So electron hits a red button and the operating system has to shut down certain functions before it can save data. So if something goes wrong within the PC, a little electron will hit a red button. So this causes the operating system to shut down its certain functions before it can save the data. So this panic buttons, this button inside the PC is called a non-maskable interrupt, that is NMI, non-maskable interrupt. So they simply defined as an interruption the CPU cannot ignore. So this is an interruption. The NMI manifests as a proprietary crash screen. So in Windows 7, for example, the crash screen is what techs call the blue screen of death, BSOD, a bright blue screen with the scary sounding error message on it. So it is the crash screen, the proprietary crash screen. So the techs call this screen a blue screen of death. Okay, so this is a bright blue screen with the scary sounding error message on it. So this is the blue screen of death. The screen, the figure shows the blue screen of death. Windows 8, 8.1 or 10 displays a blue screen with the sad face and the words to the effect of Windows has a problem. And you just restart it restarts the machine. A Mac OS machine might display a spinning rainbow wheel, sometimes called the spinning pinwheel of death, or it will simply restart. So the crash screen in Windows 7, it will be blue screen of death. So when it will happen, when something goes wrong within your PC, the electron hits the big red button inside the PC. So it will, the operating system will shut down. That means it will stop its functioning. So the PC will show a non-maskable interrupt. So the panic button is called NMI, and the result will be a blue screen of death in Windows 7. But such things, where such a disaster happens in Windows 8 or 8.1 or 10, it displays a blue screen with the sad face, and or it may restart the machine. Okay, and in the Mac OS machine, the same problem is called the spinning pinwheel of death, or simply it will restart. So sometimes it will restarting the system is it says there is the problem in your PC, this restarting. Okay, so next one is BIOS. BIOS is basic input output services.